Welcome back to Music Theory Logic. Today's another making it from scratch. Today, another sort of making it from scratch. This is picking up on a sound that I showed you via YouTube Shorts yesterday. Let's go ahead into the logic session. So if you find this stuff or these videos helpful, you'd help me a lot by subscribing to the channel. Barely at 500. And I'm always focused at making content for you. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. So first of all, just to bring you up to speed, I've been experimenting with Serum for many years now, and I had used the noise oscillator function for using really like drum samples to then design drums with, but I recently started using other different samples in there just to get even more crazy with sound design, and I built this patch out of a guitar. Let me show you what I mean. So I recorded myself playing this. Now I'm not actually using that at all, and the sound that I created is being controlled by the LFO. It's really just playing the noise oscillator, then I'm playing with effects. It sounds like this. Pretty dark, pretty heavy, pretty weird. I like all of those descriptions for sounds. All right, so, and that's a pretty basic drum sample I got from Splice. That was at 120. And then I moved this whole thing up to 140 beats per minute. So the next step is figuring out that if these notes are what they look to be. So one of the things about the sampler is unless you bring in an audio sample, like a pitched sample that is tuned to the note C, Serum is automatically going to set that note's original pitch when it starts key tracking or moving the other notes to a C. So what you see might not be what you get on this guitar-based sound. Go ahead and label that. So if I play this bottom patch, I did this by ear right before filming this, but basically I tried to match it, and I found out that I'm in the key of C minor, just going 1, 5, 6, 4. That sounds together like this. Cool. So we're going to create a section that kind of builds up into this with that MIDI information. We're going to build kind of an arpeggio and a chord progression. So I'll create another instance. So if I wanted to do the most basic chord progression I could have with that in the key of C minor, that would probably be root position triads. My little roller wheel on my mouse is dying. It's kind of going to make all this stuff annoying, but I have a magic mouse. I just need to get it up and running. So what the basic thing, so the bass line's going like this: C, G, A flat, F. The first chord would be a C minor chord, which has C, E flat, and G. The next chord technically would be a G minor chord if we stick to the key of C minor. This would be an E flat major, the 6th chord, or sorry, A flat major. So last chord's an F minor, the 4. Cool. Now we could get a little bit more interesting with the chord voicing of this stuff. We could actually go to our B flat early. That's going to make this feel like a C minor 7th. Let's try doing, I guess, going up to B flat. second. Cool, I like that. It's more interesting than just those boring chords on the one. Now, one thing that I've showed you before in Logic, but we can use some automated MIDI functions to humanize that. We could just literally play that chord progression on the keys, and a lot of times I do end up doing that, but for the sake of this video and my limited technical camera setup at the current state, it's easiest for me to write like this. But now, one thing that happened there is that we're not hearing the full first chord. When you humanize it, sometimes it's going to put the notes before the one. So just on this first chord, I'm going to have them start in time. Because if you don't hear that note at the beginning, chances are if you zoom in a ton, it's going to be slightly overlapping to the left. And the way this MIDI stuff works is when it sees the note, it's going to trigger the sound that it's controlling. So let's take that and let's do a little bit of an arpeggio with it. Now, this is one way that sometimes I'll write. This is going to get really fun when we start picking sounds. So just with the basic Logic default piano, can get a lot done. So let's go with like an eighth note. Chord inversion there, so still going to the same G minor chord, but the B flat is on the bottom. That's what that chord inversion word means. All right, if I go do an A flat. Oh, I overlapped. Get the last chords in there. So this feels kind of weird right now because both of these are the same sounds playing, and so if we like look at the MIDI, there's some overlap there. Now, even if we have that same pitch, we don't change any of the notes, but we change the sounds, a lot of that's going to go away, so bear with me. Finally, we're going to an F minor, and I could use what the fancy word for is a pedal tone, keeping the same pitch, but having the chord rotate around that. It's kind of interesting to me as somebody that plays piano and the keys, that these kind of chord inversions or having common tone notes in the way that you voice chord progressions. One, it sounds smoother to our ears anytime that note that is overlapping is literally the same pitch. But what's also interesting about playing the piano is that makes it so much easier to play. And so I wonder what came first, the ease or the actual technique. At the ends, perhaps we want to do something more interesting, like a melody note. Cool. let's try to build a sound for it. So going with Serum just to keep with it. For fun, I could actually use that same guitar chug I added. The one thing about that is I'm going to have to move all of this up to C sharp because I think I'm playing a B. So when we see a C sharp, it's actually a B. Then if I take this and I use like an envelope, shape out my release a little here. And put that on our lead. Oh, it sounds like the same note. What did I forget to do? I need to turn on key tracking. Now let's take that. Let's use oscillator 1. Now I'm going to have to change this semitone to -1. Change the waveform. I don't want the basic shapes. We could use the sub oscillator not for a sub. Oh, but we don't have the octave pitch. So we can't use that. Let's use oscillator B. Let's take some sort of weird wavetable. Turn it way down. Apologies. All right, then let's make the sound kind of evolve over a whole measure. Pretty cool. Let's take all of that and put it through some delay. Drag the delay to the ending. Automate the mix. Cool. All right. I'm not going to build a sound from scratch for this, let's save our project and let's try opening. Let's use Izotope Iris. I was just telling a friend of mine about this. I feel like it's a really beast of a pad workhorse. I love like the textures, and shout out to Composer Gloves, another great YouTube channel. I talked to him a couple years ago and he was telling me all the super cool sound design stuff he does with this. I really just use this for presets. Serum is kind of where I actually get into the synths and change a lot of parameters. Let's take that whole arpeggio. We're gonna drop it in with the drums, but let's really automate that so we don't get a lot of volume. It's coming up towards our drop sound. And then finally, I'm gonna wanna filter it. So I'm gonna grab that. I'm going to automate the high cut frequency. Not sure how I feel about that. I kind of didn't like it at first. Alright, we'll come back to the main bass. That in. I think what's a little bit weird about it is what I'm doing on this ring mod. Let's use less of it, perhaps. No, that's worse. Turn down the mix. Just turn it off. Maybe that'll work. That'll work. Now that's kind of doing some low end, but I really want a bass in here. So I'm gonna duplicate the Serum Patch. I'm gonna give us the same MIDI, but actually, no, I'm not. I'm gonna move this down to C minor because I'm not gonna use the noise oscillator. I'm gonna just literally use the sub oscillator, and I'm gonna tie the same thing to that so the volume comes Now let's hear that from the beginning. finally, we definitely need some sort of top line on that. It's just so dark. So let's try like a C minor. I have the same pad, but I'm going to change it. Let's go into Iris and let's use one of the choirs. Lost choir. I'm hearing like ba dun dun. Might not have sounded right, but in my head, I know how it was gonna sound. Cool. And then I don't think I'm going to be able to make it all the way through what I kind of want to do with this idea, just because I have actual work after this. Some sessions I got to get through. So let's try doing like an A flat major 7. So one thing you can do when you're writing different sections is just move the notes around but keep timing the same. So like if I want to go to an E flat, I can keep that timing identical. G. We could do an E flat major 7. Halftime, so taking like 2 measures. E flat 7. Noisia does this in Tommy's theme. Check out my music theory breakdown from that track. But that's wrong. Let me see. Why is that wrong? Oh, well, it's out of key. So I guess actually I didn't want to do an E flat 7. I was thinking a B flat 7. So all right, let's hear what that feels like at the end of it. So here it is from the beginning. Cool. It's kind of weird, but I kind of like it. Let's see if you can imagine a vocalist on this. There, what if we take our low line and put our sub on that? Up an octave. More interesting and not do root note position stuff. So G is in that C minor chord, F is in that, it's the fifth of the B flat chord. An arpeggio out of that. So an arpeggio is a fancy way of saying a broken chord. One fun way to do this technique is to shorten them to eighth notes and then basically drag them. You can use whatever pattern you want. You could keep the pattern the same or change it. All of it's going to result in different sounding stuff. But since all of these are individual notes from the chords, this will always work. It's not going to feel like a wrong note. And arpeggios are really, really common in many, many different styles of music. They're kind of a way of half chord, half melody. So, and then let's take that and put it up a lot higher. Fast enough there. All right. I don't know if I even want that. What about a basic top line or melody? Except on top of the B flat chord. Alright, so I'm nearing the end of my window. Hopefully you found this helpful. If you did, you'd help me out a lot by subscribing to the channel. If you come across this video at any point in the future and you like this instrumental and you want me to keep working on it, or if you're curious if I did keep working on it, leave me a note in the comments. Or shoot me an email. I really like this as a sort of an opportunity to write music in a different light, and I write a lot of different stuff when I'm talking about it and know that I'm being filmed, and I feel the pressure of not looking stupid in front of all of you, but I'm sure I do look stupid from time to time, and that is all right because I'm, after all, only a human being. So here's the track we built mostly from scratch, minus the guitar sound and the drum loop that I already had loaded in. Here it is. If I had more time to work on this, before I forget, after we hear the phrasing of this melody that happens in the hook, I feel like it'd be really cool to build that somehow into the next section. So perhaps I will pick back up and work more on this. If you found this helpful, you'd help me out a lot by subscribing to the channel. If you're curious about seeing what I'm doing in between these sessions, check out my Instagram or my other social media, as I'm posting shorts, and I do YouTube shorts and I do Instagram reels, but I always try to keep them completely separate to honor both algorithms, as I love to reach new people. So anyway, thanks for hanging out with me. Once again, my name's Andrew. This is Music Theory Logic, and that was making it from scratch. Thanks for hanging out. Go make some music, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.